Dysfunctional vat. I hope you can see this. The second line right here is the tight fitting on my 2.5 inch ID, and what I've got to do is trim all this excess rubber off so that I can make a seal on this and pressurize my casing to force some of the bore fluid out. My reason for doing that is so that I'm not pumping so much bentonite clay through my screen and risk clogging that up. I know that the bentonite should flow through it, but I'm just trying to prevent that. Now, when I actually push the casing in, as soon as I've reached depth, I'll be putting in a gravel pack. And once that gravel pack is in place, and I've measured it with a tape measure to make sure that I've got the gravel pack down deep enough and tall enough, then what I'll do is I'll put this plug into the system, pump it up, and I'll start putting pressure on it to force the fluid out of the casing as well as out of the bore. And once I do that, once I have it out, then I'll drop my sump pump, which is the rod pump that I've made, and I'll start pumping until I've pumped about, I don't know, maybe 120 to 200 gallons. This will not take long between the airlift and the rod pump. It's not going to take long to get all that out, but I want to get most of that fluid out. So what we're going to do is we're going to size this. I'm not going to film it, but I'll show you the finished product. If it turns out, and if it doesn't, I'll tell you it didn't turn out. I'll show you the wreckage. Now, it was a pretty nasty smell, but here's my sample, and as you see, it slides on, it's tight. So now what we got to do is put all this back together into the proper seal and see if it'll seal up against this as it is supposed to do. Once we do that, then we'll be boring a hole through the top of this and inserting a 1/4 inch airline, which will be used for pressurizing the casing. This is my finished product. It's got a little bit of a lip up here to help make the seal at the top. Also, so I can't drop it in. Fits on. Let's try to push it out. That won't work. It's on there. We're going to call this a success. Battery on charge. Okay, here we have our fitting. It lifts in and it lifts out. It's not pretty. I'd bore a hole through these, through the rubber. The rubber drilled very quickly, but this is stainless. It took a moment to drill through. Fits inside here. To tighten this, I have to bend this to the side to turn it, and it doesn't take very much, and then it's tight, and I'll be able to feed air through this line down inside here and blow the water out of the casing and most of the drilling fluid up through the bore alongside the casing and then out where it can be pumped off somewhere, and we won't worry about what the bentonite clay is doing. I'm real happy with this. I had several different options that I was going to explore for this. This has proven to be the best, and I have no complaints. I have a bit of string on here to use as a lift point, and this is called whipping a rope. I'm getting ready to do the same thing down here, and what I've done is I've taken it loose from the lift so that as I'm pulling and making my loops, I can pull it down. The process of whipping a rope is to throw some excess to the front, some excess to the back, like so, and then to start wrapping. Hope you can see that. You wrap, and as you come around, you make sure you go over this piece here, and you keep doing this until you have the correct number of rounds. The correct number of rounds is 1/4 of the length, 1/4 of the diameter of the rope that you're working with. As you can see, it goes quickly in spite of everything being so flimsy. The green stuff right here that this is attached to is 550, and this is a UV protected nylon string. Once you have it to a certain point, you start pulling, and that's the wrong one. Find the correct one, which is right here, and you start pulling. You see the string starts going in. You have to untangle this a few times. To keep it from bunching up and messing up. When it gets small enough, you can stick a finger in it. When you get up to the top, you pull it. I'm having to hold this because I smashed this hand yesterday while meeting dogs. You pull this nice and tight. You'll cut this, and this rope is not going anywhere. It is held in place by this little bitty friction knot. Let's see if our lift will work. As you can see, I have a string tied on with my pin to lock this. Slide this around. Bring this over here and slide it over. Press this down where you can see it maybe. Put my locking pin in. Yep, it's working just fine. It's not going to come off. It's picking it up. It's holding it. So we are good. The next thing to do is to put all this, stage all of this stuff over there so that we can use it. That will be moving the one that has the chain on it for the heavy casing, and then this one as well. We'll go ahead and close this up. Put the pin back in it. This pin's a bit tricky.